I suppose the most exciting thing we trained for was low-level tactical nuclear weapons delivery, where we would fly for hours at very, very low altitudes and over remote parts of the country, practicing a low-level penetration into enemy territory with nuclear weapons on board. Because the theory was that areas like the Soviet Union or China would be heavily protected by radar, and if you came in at high altitudes, they'd spot and intercept. But we had this whole we were very well prepared, and it was especially a Navy and Marine Corps role to go in at very, very low levels, like 50 or 100 feet, and you would go to a so-called initial point, and then the theory was you'd do this 4.5 G pull-up maneuver, and at the right point the nuclear weapon would separate and it would arc over for another 10 miles, just carried on momentum, and then go in and obliterate whatever city. So the key thing was finding exactly that initial point and hitting the initial point at exactly the right speed and altitude, and then pulling up at exactly 4.5 Gs, because it was all ballistic. There was no electronic control over anything. So to get to the initial point at low levels, we had these long, long maps where we'd cut strips of charts and glue them together, and then you had them all folded up on your knee pad, and then as you're flying along at close to 500 miles an hour right off the ground, you had to keep folding out the next thing on the map, and then look for a bridge, and then the bridge could come over, pass, and you cross that one off, and then you had to look for a forest tower. Yep, there's that one, and so forth. And doing that for about an hour and a half, high speed, low level, and not lose your place on the maps was tough. It was very challenging, but great fun. So, I mean, I liked it so well that after the end of the Cold War, 94, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, I bought a former Soviet military jet aircraft, and I've been flying that ever since. And I also have more recently bought a former German Air Force fighter attack airplane, and I fly that too, because I really do miss the joy of flying military type aircraft.